The scope of studying abroad has expanded over the years. Thanks to globalization, students now have access to best of the universities from across the world. And if you look at the numbers, the number of Indian students going to Australia has been increasing since 2009. And today on the show, we're joined by Professor Gary Smith, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Global Engagement, Deakin University, to talk about student experience in Australia and the kind of advantages a student will have if he chooses to study in a foreign country, in this case, especially Australia. Thanks for joining us, sir. So over the last few years, an increasing number of students are choosing Australia as the destination where they would want to go and study. What do you think? I mean, this number has especially risen after 2009. What do you think would be a few of the reasons because of which this kind of change is being noticed?
I think the number one reason is in an age of social media that Indians are telling other Indians how great it is to come to Australia. So the message is out there in here in this country about Australia. And so I think the message that's coming through is first of all about Australia, the country. Secondly, about the great cities in Australia. Thirdly, about great universities in Australia and the experiences that Indians are having in Australia. So they're the broad reasons. And particularly on Australia itself, one of the things that is noticed very strongly by prospective students is the 2-year post-study work rights that we offer in Australia. And that's not offered these days in the UK and not offered in the United States. So we allow every student who comes to Australia who's been studying at least 2 years, 2 years to work in any job they like. There's no restriction on the visa at all. And that's a plus, I think, for many students.
Now, Indian students, of course, form some of the biggest group of students studying in different countries from US, UK, New Zealand, Germany, Australia, of course. So what do you believe are a few of the ways in which a student can benefit from studying in Australia?
Yeah, well, no one can beat the US because the US is the centre of the universe and has enormous attraction and pull to people. So I love going to the US, so the US is its own story. But I think people look at Australia and they say, oh look, we're as big as the United States in scale, but we're a much smaller population. And that small population in a number of great cities in particular gives students a chance to connect in a much more serious way to the communities they visit. They're not lost in a vast nation of the United States. They're in communities where they can get connected, they can meet people from many other countries. We're a very, very multicultural country, and they can meet other Australians. And they can have these personal experiences of connectedness that they don't get in the large United States. So I think the United States can disappoint quite quickly, whereas I think Australia is a growing experience and people come to Australia and enjoy the whole time they're here.
Talk to us about the kind of experience a student can expect to have once he is in Deakin in Australia.
Yeah, so Deakin is very well known in India. We've had an office here in Delhi for 21 years. And that's given us a deeper understanding of India and Indian students. And it also has created significant flows of students to Deakin, and also study tours and other flows back into India and research partnerships between Deakin and India. So one of the things that makes Deakin different is that we're very deeply connected to India. And we have our research collaborations. We have 80 PhD students, Indian PhD students in India, as part of our program of engagement with India. So we think we understand India a bit, you know. We're not claiming to understand India deeply at all, but we have lots of Indian students who come over and they're able to establish Indian feel in our university. We celebrate Diwali and other festivals in our university very enthusiastically. So first up is the student experience at our university. We are rated #1 in the state of Victoria for student experience every year for the last 5 years. And that ranking hasn't come by accident. It's a government survey. We don't do it. And so we think our students will have that great experience and will talk about it. And the word of mouth, as I said before, will bring other students. So the student experience, though, was #1. The courses. Deakin has great courses. We have some of the leading world courses in, for example, sports management is a Deakin hotspot. We're ranked right up in the top of the world rankings in sports management. And that's a growing area of interest in India. You know, we're great sporting nations, but we've professionalised the sporting industry more seriously. And in India, there's great advantage in that professionalisation of sport for jobs in sports management, and a huge interest in this area. So it's not that just we share some sporting enthusiasms around cricket, although this interview is being recorded at a time when I'm not going to talk about the cricket because of some shame that is currently taking place. But sports management is a great course, and MBA has international reputation, for example, and other courses in education and elsewhere. So highly ranked courses are important for the university. And this package of great courses, great student experience is what I think makes Deakin different. And we also have great international rankings as a university, not just in the course.
What is further being done to elevate Australia's status as a preferred destination for education?
Well, certainly at our national and state governmental levels, there's a lot of support for the higher education sector in continuing to be a leading sector internationally and globally. As I mentioned before, in rankings of universities, we don't chase rankings, but there are 20 universities in Australia ranked in the top 400 in the world, and Deakin University is one of them. And of the young universities under 50 years old, we're in the top 50 in the world. Overall, in the top 3% of all world universities is ours, and there are other great universities that are being supported by government. State governments, and we're in the state of Victoria, state governments are very supportive. They facilitate international student experience. They've set up international student drop-in centres in Melbourne so that students can find a point of extra advice as well as from the university. So we have supportive governments encouraging us to be the best in the world that we can be, and this is at all levels of government. And the City of Melbourne itself has a very active, and the City of Geelong have very active policies to support international students. So all levels of government are trying to make the student experience positive and to support international students as well as Australian students.
On that note, we will slip into a quick break, but you don't go anywhere as there is a lot more coming up on the other side.
I met a lot of those people as well who said, well, why don't you sell soap?
Women missing in startups. From Silicon Valley to Bangalore. Why are women entrepreneurs a rare breed?
Our program from 10,000 startups in the report that we did showed that there are roughly about 8% of co-founders, women co-founders in the startup space. Now that is a very low number.
Can India lead the change? Startup Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV Prime.